everybody. Today we're going to be going over my method of cleaning your rods, making them look like new again, and getting them ready for a whole nother year of use on the water. We're going to go over how to clean cork handles, some foam handles if you have them on your rods. We're going to go over cleaning the blank and the line guides, and then if you want to go that final step, we're also going to go over on how to seal the cork on your rod. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start out with all the things that you're going to need to get your rods cleaned properly, starting with, we got a bowl of water, some Pledge lemon wipes, magic eraser, a sanding sponge, high grit. This is a 180, so something, you know, in that 180, 200 range. And then you can use cotton swabs, or these are dental swabs. I prefer the dental swabs because they don't leave any lint behind. And then for that last step, if you're going to be sealing the cork, I use U40 cork seal, and you can use some painter's tape. You don't need to use it if you want to be careful. I like to use painter's tape, and then a brush to apply the U40. Okay, so to get started, first we're going to go over all the steps that I take to clean the rod blank, and then we'll get into how to clean these foam handles. So the first thing that I use are the Pledge lemon wipes. So go ahead and get out one of the wipes, and all you're really going to do is just start cleaning. You wipe down the blank, get into the reel seat pretty well. You can see some dirt in here, and what these lemon wipes do is not only do they clean off all this dirt, but they kind of add an extra coat of polish to them, and that adds a little bit of protection to that rod blank too. And so your rods are slightly more protected throughout the course of the season, and then it gives it that polishing look and makes them look just like new. So really just get in there and clean it as good as you can. And we're gonna clean around all the reel seat, and once you get that good, you can go on to the blank, and you don't focus too much time on the eyelets right now, but yeah, just kind of get around everything and get it as clean as you possibly can. Alright guys, so now we've got the rod blank and the reel seat cleaned up pretty well. We're going to go on to cleaning the cork handles here. You can see I got like a little bit of chartreuse, and this kind of gets matted down throughout the course of the year. Fish grime, slime, all that stuff gets into that. So so to clean those, that's where the sanding sponge comes into play. And the first thing that I'll do is I'll get the foam handles wetted down. So get a wash rag, just kind of get a little bit wet, and take it to your foam handles, and just apply it. Get some moisture on there, and you might clean off some of that maybe that chartreuse or whatever you have that's built up on your foam handles throughout the year. Now you can see that the water didn't exactly take off like that chartreuse, and so what the sanding sponge does, and we'll get that a little bit wet too, is it essentially sands down your foam handles, and it takes off that outer layer of fish slime or whatever you got, dirt that's built up into your handles over the course of the year. And you just take that sanding sponge and just go over your foam handles back and forth. You let the sanding sponge do the work. You don't want to really push in there and take off a lot. So just nice and even, not a lot of pressure. Let that sanding sponge do all the work, and it's going to sand down that foam handle, and it'll take off that outer layer of gunk essentially that you have on those foam handles, and it'll make them look like new. It can look a little bit streaky by the time everything dries, and that's just kind of how it goes. You have to take your time with it. If you're a little impatient and you go too quickly, you're going to miss little spots and it's going to come out all streaky. So just take your time with it, back and forth until you get it looking, you know, I mean, pretty much brand new. So just keep on going over that handle till it looks real nice. Okay, now once you're done sanding down your foam handles, I just take a wet wash rag and clean off all the excess that's on that handle. And now, if you look closely, you won't see that chartreuse anymore. So what we've done is we've taken off that outer layer of the foam handle. You can't hardly tell. You barely took anything off, and it looks pretty much like brand new. I'm not going to say it looks exactly brand new, but it's sure going to look a lot better than it did. Alright, moving on to all of the eyelets on your rod. This is where I like to use the dental swabs, and you'd probably use another one of these pudge wipes, or you can use a pudge spray as well. If you wanted to spray it down, you can do it that way as well. You're just gonna, kind of like you did with the rod blank, just, you know, get in there with the pudge wipe and get as clean as you can. And then what's good about these dental swabs is they don't leave behind any of that lint that would get, you know, come off on any nicks that you have. And also in some of these larger guides, when you put the dental swab through it, it mushrooms kind of around those eyelets, and so it cleans the top and the bottom like that. And that's something that you're not going to get out of the cotton swabs. So that's just one little added bonus to using these. You're mainly using them just because they don't leave behind any lint. So just get into your eyelets just really well with that pledge, and then clean off everything you can with those swabs. Alright guys, this rod is pretty well all the way done and cleaned, good to go for another year. You'll notice that I didn't clean the cork handle on this rod, and that's because I sealed this cork a couple years ago. And when you seal the cork handles, they stay a lot cleaner throughout an entire years of use. And now all I'll do is just take a wet wash rag and clean off that cork handle. Like I said, it's not very dirty after you seal that cork, so just a quick wipe down. If you see any, you know, dirt or grime on there, you should be able to get it off pretty easily with just a wet wash rag. Now, if you have never cleaned your cork handles before and you haven't sealed the cork or anything like that, this is what you get. So you can see how dirty this handle is right there, and then in spots where maybe my hands didn't touch it as much, it stayed relatively clean in those areas. So now I'm going to go over how to clean your cork handles, and then we'll seal it so that it doesn't get this dirty in the future, and we can wipe it down with a wet wash rag every so often just to keep them clean. So for that, that's where the magic eraser comes in. These things work really well. Just get them a little bit wet, and you're just going to go back and forth over your cork handles. And I used to use baby wipes, but I found that they didn't work as well as the magic eraser does. They require a bit more elbow grease. They will work if you don't have a magic eraser lying around and you have some baby wipes in your house. Go ahead and use those. But look at how much grime is coming off on that magic eraser, and you can already see it's starting to make a pretty big difference. So just keep on taking your time with it, get a little bit wet, and see if you can notice a difference as I clean this rod handle here. Alright everyone, so I just finished going over the cork handle with the baby wipes on this rod, and look at that. It looks brand new. You can't tell that it was used really at all. If you saw this in the store, you would think it's a brand new rod. It looks perfect. So now we're going to go into that final extra step of sealing the cork handle, and what I started out doing was just applying painter's tape around the edges of that cork, just because I didn't want to get any of that cork sealant onto the blank of the rod or the reel seat or any of that. You don't have to really go this far. You can just be careful with that cork sealant when you apply it, and if you don't want to, you don't really need to like get it all the way up to the edge. It's just something that I like to do because that sealant will slightly darken your cork handles. So if you don't go all the way, you might notice a little bit of a color change on the edge there. So I just like to tape them off with some painter's tape and cover the whole thing. But let's get into what you actually do to seal that cork handle. And that's where I use U40 cork sealant, and then I get one of these foam brushes, and we'll go ahead and get that open there. And all you really need to do here is just barely kind of dip the tip of your foam brush into that sealant. A little bit goes a long way, so you don't need to dunk it in there, you don't need to apply a ton of that sealant, and then you just apply it. There's really no way, like no special way to do this. You just apply an even coat around the entire edge of your cork handles, just an even coat all the way around, and like I said, a little bit goes a long way. That cork sealant, it'll get into all the grooves of your cork handles, and the most important thing here is not to over apply and to get just an even layer. If you do end up over applying it, it can start to kind of bubble up almost like a sunburn, and it'll kind of peel away. So just a little bit goes a long way. You don't need to buy 2 packages of that cork sealant. The bottle that I bought looks nearly full, and I've been using it for a couple of years now. Just a tiny bit goes a long way. So just dip the tip of that foam brush in there and get a nice even coat over all of your cork handles. Alright guys, so I finished applying that coat of cork sealant to the handle on this rod. You only need to apply 1 coat, and that's all you'll ever need to apply. So this is once in a lifetime sort of deal. You don't need to apply cork sealant to this rod ever again. And in the future, next year when it comes time to clean this handle, all you're going to need is a wet wash rag to wipe it down. If you use that magic eraser, it may work, but I am a little concerned that it would take off that cork sealant, and they really don't get near as dirty when you have that cork seal. So there's really no reason to use that magic eraser anyways. Just a wet washcloth will take all that dirt and grime right off. And so once you finish applying that cork sealant, go ahead and soak your brush in water right away, just so that you're not sealing your brush there, and you can use that again in the future. And then we're going to go ahead and set this off to the side to let it dry. The instructions say about 30 minutes. So in about 30 minutes we'll come back and look at it again, and you'll notice that slightly color difference that I noted. You can already tell it's a little bit darker than it was before, and once it's actually dried and sealed, it'll look something like this. This is a rod that I had sealed a couple years ago and just washed off with a wet wash rag, and I could barely tell that this handle was dirty. So like I said before, just a light coat of sealant, and this rod is going to be good for a lifetime. Super simple to keep clean and to clean once a year from then on out. So guys, that about wraps it up for this video. If you have any comments or questions, let me know in that comment section below, and we'll see if we can help you out. Thanks a lot.